Hello everyone, how are you? Breaking news today. International Development Minister Anneliese Dodds has resigned over the Prime Minister's cuts to the aid budget. In a letter to Sir Keir Starmer, Dodds said the cuts to international aid, announced earlier this week to fund an increase in defence spending, would remove food and healthcare from desperate people, deeply harming the UK's reputation. She told the PM she had delayed her resignation until after his meeting with President Trump, saying it was imperative that you had a united cabinet behind you as you set off for Washington. The Oxford East MP, who attended cabinet despite not being a cabinet minister, said it was with sadness that she was resigning. She said that while Sir Keir had been clear he was not ideologically opposed to international development, the cuts were being portrayed as following in President Trump's slipstream of cuts to USAID. Ahead of his trip to meet the U.S. President, Sir Keir announced aid funding would be reduced from 0.5% of gross national income to 0.3% in 2027 in order to fund an increase in defence spending. In his reply to Dodds's resignation letter, the Prime Minister thanked the departing minister for her hard work, deep commitment and friendship. He said cutting aid was a difficult and painful decision and not one I take lightly, adding, "We will do everything we can to rebuild a capability on development." In her resignation letter, Dodds said she welcomed an increase to defense spending at a time when the post-war global order had come crashing down. She added that she understood some of the increase might have to be paid for by cuts to ODA, overseas development assistance. However, she expressed disappointment that instead of discussing our fiscal rules and approach to taxation, the Prime Minister had opted to allow the ODA to absorb the entire burden. She said the cuts would likely lead to a UK pullout from numerous African, Caribbean and Western Balkan nations at a time when Russia has been aggressively increasing its global presence. It will likely lead to withdrawal from regional banks and a reduced commitment to the World Bank, the UK being shut out of numerous multilateral bodies, and a reduced voice for the UK in the G7, G20 and in climate negotiations. The spending cuts mean £6 billion less will be spent on foreign aid each year. The aid budget is already used to pay for hotels for asylum seekers in the UK, meaning the actual amount spent on aid overseas will be around 0.15% of gross national income. The Prime Minister's decision to increase defense spending came ahead of his meeting in Washington. The US President has been critical of European countries for not spending enough on defense and instead relying on American military support. He welcomed the UK's commitment to spend more, but Sir Keir has been attacked by international development charities and some of his own MPs for the move. Dodds held off her announcement until the Prime Minister's return from Washington, in order not to overshadow the crucial visit, and it was clear she did not want to make things difficult for the Prime Minister. But other MPs have been uneasy about the decision, including Labour MP Sarah Champion.